Every time you block us, we get smarter.
That's nice. Every time I get blocked, I cry in the shower. But this video is not about me, or my appalling lack of masculinity. It's about ads. These are very annoying, but that's not even close to being the biggest problem with those things. They screw us over in 1,000 different ways. South Park takes 3 whole episodes to go over the many ways ads ruin our society, the methods they use to trick us into thinking they're not ruining society, and finally, the things we can do to create an ad-free world. The first of these 3 episodes is sponsored content. The episode opens with what appears to be a side quest, but it's all a part of an invasion of the ads. It's just one of the many angles South Park uses to expose the dirty tricks of the advertising industry. Students at South Park Elementary are running scared through the hallways.
PC Principal is on the warpath! Run for your lives!
Well, why? Somebody called the school lunch policy retarded in the school paper. But PC Principal is not angry because someone criticized his lunch policy. He's angry because the R word got used.
The word retarded does not belong in our school!
PC Principal wants to know the students in charge of the school newspaper.
Cause I'm about to break their legs!
The guy in charge of the school newspaper turns out to be, Jimmy Valmer.
You gonna break his legs, PC Principal?
We get a little more awkwardness as PC Principal gets Jimmy's name wrong, and then fails to convince him that the R word is bad. Once reason fails, PC Principal goes full authoritarian.
From now on, I'm gonna need to approve the school paper before you hand it out, okay?
This is Jimmy's first test. Everything depends on him. He doesn't disappoint. We finally learn why Jimmy's legs don't work. They got broken by the sheer weight of his massive titanium balls swinging around 24/7. Jimmy tells PC Principal to suck it. Very politely, of course.
I don't want people to be afraid of words if it stops them from having a dialogue.
Jimmy here is that rare breed of journalist. He doesn't allow ads, and he doesn't allow censorship. He knows that if he caves to either of those forces, the actual product, the truth, would be compromised. PC Principal reacts by banning the school newspaper.
Unless I can approve your paper, it is not being distributed on campus. You got that?
Now this segment is mostly South Park criticizing the authoritarian impulses of political correctness, but what the hell does that have to do with ads? Well, we're about to find out. After getting banned from distributing the school newspaper on campus, Jimmy responds with a simple,
Yep, got it.
faced with the choices between caving to censorship or losing the ability to distribute the paper in school, Jimmy finds himself a third option that PC Principal never saw coming.
Now delivered directly to your door.
While Jimmy is just taking a stand against censorship, he ends up the unwitting hero in a war against something just as dangerous, ads. The adults of South Park can't believe what they're seeing.
Wow, this is so great. There's no ads, no sponsored content, no links to click on. Just news.
South Park uses Steven Stotch to show how all the problems that come with reading news or anything else online. Every time he tries to read the news online, he is bombarded by ads. And even when he uses an ad blocker, there's sponsored content and links to other pages that are just ads in disguise.
I wanted to get a news story, but I'm reading about face cream.
And then there are the slideshows and the clickbait. You won't believe what happened next.
This is just news.
Sponsored content is a huge problem online, offline, and even on TV. I personally didn't notice just how big the problem was until I started shopping for a new laptop. I was considering several models, but I noticed that pretty much every review had an affiliate link. This immediately made everything super sus. I couldn't trust those reviews anymore. Sponsored content is in every industry. I understand why sponsors are necessary. Creators have to be compensated somehow. The problem comes with those sponsorships are not disclosed. You can get fooled very easily, especially if it's something you don't understand. When I started working out, I consumed a lot of fitness content, and it took me a while to really separate the real information from the garbage. I once listened to a podcast that interviewed a fitness expert, which turned out to just be a 2-hour ad for a useless supplement. I didn't figure it out until I checked the comments. Turns out there's a bit of a scandal. Guests often get paid to get interviewed on this podcast, and the host never discloses that fact. I was this close to wasting my hard-earned money on turkesterone. Thankfully, I saved it all and wasted it on YouTube Premium instead. If you're laughing at me, please do it quietly. They offered me a free trial and I just forgot to cancel, and now I'm stuck with an annual plan. Even traditional media isn't safe. They're actually the guys who pioneered this stuff. The reason daytime dramas are called soap operas is because the very first dramas were sponsored by soap companies trying to sell their soap to housewives in the 1930s. And then there's the very insidious product placement. It's as old as the movie industry itself. Apparently, James Bond doesn't drive an Aston Martin because it's the coolest possible car a spy can have. James Bond only drives an Aston Martin because Aston Martin pays for its cars to be featured in Bond movies. I was clueless about this fact until my late teens. I just thought of the Aston as one of Bond's toys and dreamed of owning one myself someday. Now that I know it was just an ad, I will not be buying an Aston Martin. No, it's not because I'm angry. I did the math and realized that even if somebody gave me an Aston Martin for free, I still couldn't afford it. Gas, insurance, and repairs would swallow up just about every penny I earn. And that's the problem with sneaky ads. They violate our right to make an informed decision by failing to disclose that what we're looking at is an ad. Products can be interwoven so seamlessly into regular content that you would have absolutely no idea you're watching an ad. And this is unequivocally evil. Traditional media pioneered sponsored content, but the internet has taken it and put it on steroids. Everything is suspect. Every news story you read, every product review, every social media post, every movie, every video, everything is potentially an ad. In some cases, distinguishing an ad from organic content is impossible. This problem is what South Park exposes in sponsored content. Nothing can be trusted except Jimmy's newspaper, the Super School News.
I read Super School News because it don't try and fool me and its news reports aren't paid for by ad companies.
Even PC Principal starts pandering to Jimmy by inviting him and the other disabled kids to an event at his PC frat house.
We're honored to be throwing this event for people with disabilities.
But the event takes a turn for the worst almost immediately.
Hey guys, I'm Brad. I'm PC Arizona State.
Nice to meet you, Brad. Where do you
Excuse me a second. Hello, ladies.
Yep, Jimmy and his buddies get ditched for the ladies. The PC bros just use the disabled kids as props to get laid.
You know, it just bugs me when people refer to persons with disabilities as handicapped.
The following morning, Jimmy has his revenge. He publishes the truth. The PC bros get really mad, but they don't matter. Jimmy's dedication to the truth gets him a fan base. And whenever somebody has a fan base, there's always someone else who is dying to advertise to that fan base.
We would like to give you $26 million.
That's a guy from Geico. Jimmy turns him down. He doesn't do ads, but the Geico guy has a suggestion.
We thought you could just do some news stories about car insurance.
This type of thing is very sneaky, but even allegedly respectable publications like the New York Times do it all the time. Thankfully, Jimmy has more integrity.
That's called sponsored content. I know the difference between the news and ads.
The Geico guy tries to explain that everybody is doing it. Then he dangles the $26 million. Again, Jimmy thinks long and hard about it and gives him his final answer.
Stick it up your ass.
The Geico guy takes the diplomatic route and pulls out a gun.
Do you really think you can stop ads?
He tells Jimmy that ads are unbeatable, and mostly they are. Ads are how publications make money. If you don't do ads, somebody who does can outcompete you by using his ad revenue to hire a team and produce higher quality content at a faster rate. If you don't keep up, you could easily go out of business. The gun pointed at Jimmy represents that pressure. The money is on the carrot and the gun is the stick. The choice is seemingly simple one. Cash in and get rich, or resist and die. Luckily, before the Geico guy can pull the trigger on Jimmy, Officer Bar Brady puts a hole in his skull.
Come with me if you want to live.
Now, shooting the Geico guy doesn't mean South Park thinks ads are always bad. The show itself relies on advertisers to make money. The problem Matt and Trey have, and the one I think we all have, is with sneaky ads. These are the ads that pretend they're not ads. The Geico guy wanted Jimmy to just write a couple of news stories about car insurance to manipulate people into using Geico. That is what Jimmy found unacceptable and, frankly, unethical. We need to know the difference between what is an ad and what is not, so we can make an informed decision. But ads don't want us making informed decisions. A thinking man is an advertiser's worst nightmare.
The average human can no longer tell the difference between the news and an ad.
That's Tom, the leader of a group of newsmen fighting against the sneaky invasion of the ad. Jimmy is a hot new prospect. He's a rare breed of human, the kind that can differentiate between news and ads.
Ads have become smarter than us, and now they're manipulating everything we do.
As we find new ways of blocking ads, they in turn find new ways of disguising themselves to get past our blockers. It's an arms race, and in the South Park universe, the ads are winning.
They had to disguise themselves as news in order to survive.
Jimmy wonders if PC people have anything to do with it.
The PC people are simply being manipulated, unwittingly setting the table for the new enemy of humanity.
I don't need to spell this out. Political correctness may have started with good intentions, but it provides the perfect cover for authoritarians who want to use language to control everybody. Sharon Marsh puts it best.
You just bully people and wait for people to say anything improper so that you can jump down their throats.
While political correctness started as a way to make us nicer to each other, the UK is now jailing people for Facebook posts. They just need some good old-fashioned American freedom of speech over there. But we can't spread freedom across the pond because the UK only has 3 drops of oil in the entire country. It's not worth the effort. Invading Diddy's house is infinitely more profitable. This is the problem with political correctness. It creates a need for censorship. Once the censors are compromised, they can be used to spread any message they want. Authoritarian countries have censorship departments to spread government propaganda, but liberal Western democracies are too good for that. Instead of spreading government propaganda, our media spreads corporate propaganda. The result? A world where ads are indistinguishable from real information. This is the test Jimmy has to take.
That's the news. That's an ad.
He passes with flying colors. Because of this perfect score, the newsman tells him that he's special, and they introduce him to another special kid.
They told me I was special. Are you special too?
Leslie. Jimmy and Leslie have a standard back and forth. Do you like school? Do you like the kids who go there? Then Leslie asks the big question.
Don't you feel like you could be happier?
It's the wrong thing to ask. Jimmy excuses himself and goes back to the newsman.
Does she know she's an ad?
This is an obvious allusion to AI. Ads are so advanced they trick us into thinking they're human, which is really insightful because this episode came out in 2015, long before AI influencers were a thing. Meanwhile, PC principal fires Jimmy.
Jimmy Vollmer is off the school newspaper. I want you to take over.
But almost immediately, things start taking a strange turn. PC principal sees himself in a State Farm ad, pushing Leslie on a swing.
Bro, what the hell's going on, bro?
Yeah, what the hell is going on? The ads can disguise themselves as human, but what do they want? The question is explored in the second installment of the trilogy, Truth and Advertising.
Ads are among us. They could be your friend, your gardener. The ads are trying to wipe us out.
But how do they plan to achieve that? We just have to follow Randy. While having dinner with his family, Randy suggests leaving South Park.
It's just, used to be nice and laid back here, but now it's all,
His family looks at him like he's crazy. Later, alone in the bedroom with his wife, Sharon presses Randy on why he wants to leave South Park when he seemed to love the town so much before. He says he can't afford it anymore because everything has just become too expensive. He even had to take out a second mortgage on the house just to survive.
It isn't my fault! It's the man! The man is pricing us out of our own town.
Randy's predicament in South Park is pointing out the obvious. Advertising fuels consumerism, and consumerism keeps us poor. We waste all our money buying stuff we don't need at prices that don't make sense because an ad told us to. We even go into debt like Randy to finance our consumerism. This raises another question. How do the ads manage to manipulate us so effectively? Jimmy's interaction with Leslie show us exactly how. Jimmy is disappointed with Leslie.
It's just my luck. I talked to a nice girl, seemed to hit it off, and she turns out to just be an ad.
The newsman tells him that that's just what ads do. They entice and manipulate. But how? As Jimmy questions Leslie about her plans for the future, we begin to see how. He has a back and forth with Leslie. She doesn't really tell him anything. She just tells him what he wants to hear and reflects his own questions back at him. So Jimmy mostly ends up talking about himself.
Leslie, what kind of plans do you have?
I don't know. What are your plans?
It's a classic manipulation tactic. Make the other person talk about himself and he will think that you are an excellent conversationalist. Jimmy falls for it hard.
I'm starting to think that maybe all ads aren't so bad.
The newsman tells him that he's thinking with his pee-pee.
Emotional,
Jim?
interesting, caring girl.
Jimmy, that's your dick talking.
The newsmen aren't as easily fooled. They tell him to put his pee-pee away.
Make no mistake, all ads lie, and all ads deceive.
Jimmy's pee-pee is an analogy for how ads always appeal to our emotions. They never appeal to our logic. They always appeal to our emotions with bright colors, catchy music, and an attractive woman. The entire profession of modeling only exists for advertising purposes. Ads selling us products use beautiful women. The subtext is always, you can have her. Ads to sell us dreams use attractive men, with the subtext being, you can be like him. Leslie unleashes all her manipulation powers on Jimmy.
Now I'm going to tell you something very important, Jimmy.
The newsmen lead expectantly only for a Chevy ad to pop up on their screens. While the newsmen are blind, Leslie tells Jimmy that the newsmen would burn her once they realize that she has no information to offer.
I feel something for you I have never felt before. I think it's trust.
Jimmy had put his pee-pee away, but it immediately returns to the picture. Like a hero from a fairy tale, he breaks his damsel in distress out of her cell. He insists to the newsmen that the PC principal is the real enemy, but the newsmen know better.
His dick is compromised. Stay back!
Naturally, Jimmy denies that he is thinking with his pee-pee.
I am thinking rationally and with logic.
But is he really? Can you make logical decisions when you're thinking with your pee-pee? Jimmy thinks that he can. He leaves with Leslie to go hunt down PC Principal, the man responsible for all the problems in South Park, allegedly. Jimmy and Leslie are not the only ones. It seems that everyone has beef with PC Principal. The first group is the boys. Their suspicions are triggered by a headline in the school newspaper.
Principal sends 2 favorite students on a Disney cruise.
The boys don't buy that load of bull, so they investigate.
Something is very wrong here.
First, they question Nathan about the source of the Disney cruise information.
I don't remember.
After being stonewalled by Nathan, the boys try their luck on the internet, but they get distracted by ad after ad after ad until one gets them.
Sorry, wrong arrow button. Wow, what kind of ice cream is that?
While enjoying ice cream and telling stories, they realize what happened.
We got distracted. We gotta get back to that computer.
So they go back to the computer to keep looking up information on PC Principal. But they get distracted again by ads. We see them trying on shoes in a bootleg Foot Locker and eating chicken nuggets. Naturally, they start looking for someone to blame. It can't be the ads, can it? No, it has to be somebody else. Stan blames Kyle and Kyle blames Stan. It all comes to a head when the boys fight in the cafeteria. But who is the real traitor? Who is trying to hide the truth for everybody? The one group that gets the closest to figuring it out is Mr. Garrison and his gang. Principal Victoria is also investigating all the problems in South Park. They all started when she lost her job to PC Principal, so she has a personal grudge. And she enlists Mr. Garrison and Caitlyn Jenner. They come to South Park in very bad disguises.
What the hell is this? What have they done to my town?
Keep your voice down.
Since when do we have a flippin' Whole Food?
Caitlyn Jenner jumps Randy as he walks out of a wine bar.
You like apples? Oh, how you like them apples?
She drags him into an alley and checks his butt. He has the PC mark. So Caitlyn knocks him out. They tie him up, take him to a motel, and start interrogating him about the gentrification. It was Randy's idea to gentrify part of South Park, and now even he himself can't afford to live there.
I thought we could keep it contained!
It doesn't contain.
The gentrification here is a stand-in for runaway consumerism, which is in turn fueled by advertising. Like all things that matter, it was invented in America. Then it went global. Now every city has a gentrified district, and Principal Victoria lists them all for Randy. No do faux pas, soka chewo, chimichanga.
3 miles north of Auschwitz is no more ouchie.
Mr. Garrison and the gang accuse Randy of being PC Principal's lackey, but he denies it.
If PC Principal's been using us, I'll take the bastard down myself.
So the gang goes to the PC frat house, but it's all covered in safe space tape.
When you breach a college safe space, you're crossing the most sacred human boundary there is.
Mr. Garrison, Caitlyn Jenner, and Principal Victoria cross the boundary anyway.
Wow, how did you... Whoa.
When the gang gets in, they find the PC frat house empty, but PC Principal's computer is open. He seems to have been researching something. We don't know because the gang gets distracted and ends up at Bootleg Foot Locker. That leaves Jimmy as the only guy who can solve the mystery. How is the hunt for PC Principal going? Not well. As soon as they get back to the safety of the offices of the school newspaper, Leslie turns heel and beats the living crap out of Jimmy. Never think with your peepees, gentlemen. There are no brains inside that thing. And of course, never trust an ad. But there is always that one guy. His name is Kyle. Leslie promises that she can show him what's going on, if he can trust her.
What's the last 4 digits of your SOCH? 2692?
So just how cooked is Kyle? And what are the ads planning? What is their endgame? What in the hell was PC Principal researching? Where the hell is he? All these questions are answered in the third and final episode of the trilogy, PC Principal Final Justice. Leslie has fed Kyle a story. Jimmy is dead and PC Principal did it. Kyle doesn't stand a chance. Leslie is a consumerate ad. She uses a deadly combination of flattery and flirting to manipulate Kyle.
I came to you because I had heard how good you were at getting messages across. That and because I thought you were cute.
But what about PC Principal? Where is he? He's posing riddles in a place so miserable that Satan created hell to avoid it. Russia.
An African-American flips a turtle over on its back. A transgender Filipino comes and sees the helpless turtle baking in the sun. What color is the Filipino's father?
If you can't answer the question, PC Principal will introduce you to a little thing called death. This is what happens to a whole bunch of people. Well, they're not people. Not technically. These guys are just ads in human form. AI ad bots, just like Leslie.
I didn't think you were human.
By the way, the correct answer is colorless. The Filipino's father is colorless. If you see color, you are racist. But why is PC Principal murdering people in gentrified neighborhoods all over the world? It's the same question the US government is asking. PC Principal gets arrested and brought to an aircraft carrier.
You mind telling me why you're going around the world shooting up revitalized arts and foods districts?
PC Principal doesn't think the soldier will understand.
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
He says he doesn't know what they are, but they're using him and others like him to try and change the planet. PC Principal doesn't know, but we know. It's ads. They hijack social movement to sell us crap. Corporate America has turned PC people into useful idiots. On a completely unrelated note, please buy my BLM shirts. Link in the description. Unlike us, the soldiers never get the full story.
Sir, the president is on the phone.
The president orders the soldiers to release PC Principal, but they're not supposed to believe anything he tells them. But why?
This is a matter of national security.
As you can hear, that is Obama's voice. And that face is, well, interesting.
God bless you.
God bless you too, sir.
And may God bless the United States of America.
That brings us to the all-important question. What is Leslie's endgame? What is she planning? What are the ads planning? She is very skilled at manipulation. She is blaming the PC people for problems going on. She has also turned Stan and Kyle against each other.
Stan, your dad is one of them. He had to be the one that let them in.
This has the effect of turning Stan against his dad.
What?
What?
Stan is getting very suspicious about his old man.
Dad, where were you last night?
Randy doesn't help his case. He just acts more suspiciously.
What when? Where was I what? Out with friends doing things?
Randy excuses himself to go to the garage where Mr. Garrison and the gang are waiting. They have everything from PC Principal's hard drive, and it seems he was on to gentrification around the world. Stan confronts them. Guns get pulled and things get very tense.
Kyle said I couldn't trust you. What are you planning, Dad?
This is all a commentary on how ads ruin our lives. They sell us delusions, and as we pursue those delusions, they alienate us from our family and friends. Ads show you that shopping is fun. They don't show you the crushing credit card debt that comes from too much shopping. They show you that drinking is fun. But they never show us the hangover or the dark side of alcoholism. Ads are constantly manipulating us into buying crap, which makes us miserable in the long run. But to what end? What is the purpose of all this? South Park gives us a hint by leading further into the gentrification analogy.
They're trying to price our species out of existence.
But wait a minute. If they price everybody out of existence, how do they benefit? Well, South Park's ads are sentient, but ours aren't. Not yet, at least. They are controlled by people, and these people aren't thinking that far. Their objectives are far more earthbound. So why do they do what they do? You won't believe the reason when you hear it.
I've got expensive taste, Jimmy. I like good food, organic pressed juices, and I've got a thing for high-class prostitutes.
That's right. Our corporate overlords are driving us into consumerism so they can fund their own consumerism. It's just one big cycle of consumerism. It's mostly how our economy works. Without consumer spending, the economy crashes. That's why ads are all over the place, encouraging you to spend. You just buy a bunch of crap on Amazon, the guy who owns Amazon buys a bunch of yachts, the yacht seller buys a plane, and the government taxes everybody and then uses that money to buy a bunch of votes. And around the wheel goes. It's just consumerism on every level.
All I had to do was work for the ads, and I got everything I wanted.
While the runaway consumerism is scary just by itself, the way it distorts our world can be just as scary. Ways like political correctness.
What is PC but a verbal form of gentrification?
As Nathan explains, once you have completely sanitized language, you spruce everything up and create a false paradise. The only thing that can survive in that fake artificial environment is ads. This is South Park commenting on all the profound ways advertising shapes the world around us. Everything you see has to be advertiser friendly. I am very aware of the irony of me saying this, by the way. I go out of my way to sanitize my language, and I can't just curse to stick it to the man because YouTube wouldn't recommend my video if I did that. So it would be all for nothing anyway. It's a hard choice. Stand for artistic freedom and be homeless, or censor myself and pay the rent. I think you guys know what I chose. It's a trade-off that has existed since the beginning of time. Ancient artists who had patrons who funded their work, usually a king, a lord, maybe the pope. Modern artists have patrons too, advertisers. These patrons may have changed, but there is still only one rule. The guy who writes the checks makes the rules. Kings and lords' only demand was that you make them look good. For advertisers, making them look good is just one of the 1,000 different requirements. Now this is all getting very dystopian. Is there a way out? South Park seems to think so, but it's a long and hard one. It all starts when Nathan slaps Classy. Censoring myself here again. Let's call her a professional girlfriend.
Oh, hell no! Oh, hell no, yo Down syndrome ass just slapped me!
She beats him up and breaks Jimmy out. They're gonna tell everybody in town the truth about the ads. Randy, Mr. Garrison, and the gang also figure out that Leslie has been manipulating Kyle all along, so they go looking for them. But Leslie also has her own plans. She lures PC Principal to South Park with a fake headline, so she can blame him for everything. In front of everybody, at a gun show.
Tragedy at gun show.
It's psychotically brilliant. Blame PC Principal for all of South Park's problems in front of an armed crowd at a gun show. How does that go? Well, not too well, obviously. Jimmy shows up and Kyle realizes he got played.
You told me Jimmy was dead.
But Leslie doesn't back down.
Every time you block us, we get smarter. You will never be rid of ads.
Maybe not, but PC Principal gets rid of Leslie.
You're expelled.
The town has one last thing to take care of.
Why did it have to be like this?
Randy, you're yelling at a Whole Foods.
The yelling works. The Whole Foods detaches itself from South Park and flies away. Banishing Whole Foods from a town is a fitting end to this story arc. Whole Foods is the final boss of gentrification, a mega corporation that encourages consumerism under the guise of health. Kicking it out of town is South Park saying no to consumerism. But the enemy is not completely destroyed. PC Principal says as much in a long speech about continuing war against ads. Stan sums it up in one line.
This is gonna be really hard.
And that is really the only way to combat ads. Eternal vigilance. They're not going anywhere, we just have to destroy them whenever we see them. Learn to manage our consumerist urges, and start thinking with our big head, not our small one. That's how the ads get us.